Welcome to Inside the Weight Room, episode 2. Today we're talking about
early childhood specialization in sport. Fight for it. And whether or not that's a good thing.
Yeah, and we believe that's potentially hurting the kids.
Absolutely.
So that's what we're going to talk about.
Yeah.
It's
I think
time
it
for
is.
us to warm up and get ready for our own workout.
Yep.
So I got to do some mobility.
Yeah, so do I. I find that now, did we talk about that the other day? How like a full body day takes forever to warm up for?
Yeah, well, that's what I'm doing now.
Yeah.
Started my new phase yesterday, which was full body.
Yeah, so I feel like, I got to do so much. Like, I'm like, not only do I have to warm up my hips, but I have to warm up my shoulders or my back or whatever I'm moving. And everything feels really crispy.
Yeah, the warm up takes longer for sure. The nice thing is you just get better movement. Like you feel better when you're done.
Yeah, I would say so.
And you don't end up like doing as much work during like the work portion.
Yeah, and if you're warming up properly, like it's still a huge benefit. Like the lifting is great under load, but being able to like go through a full range of motion is super nice.
Yeah.
And I remember times where like I couldn't do this. Like where I couldn't sit in this position and like have that kind of mobility.
Oh yeah.
And so it's one of those things that the more you do it, the better you get at it. And I got little femurs, so having short femurs makes this a hell of a lot easier.
You should be in there, no problem.
Yeah.
Other than like kindergarten, I couldn't sit crisscross applesauce.
Dude, did your legs just come up really high? Like
I just didn't have the hip mobility.
so you'd be like,
I couldn't even like.
you couldn't even do that.
I couldn't even get
So
there.
Really?
And then once I started, training properly when I was like 20, I'm like,
Yeah.
oh, this is what it feels like to sit cross-legged.
I should be able to do this.
I should be able to do this.
Yeah.
And I don't know, like.
But nobody told you that, like, hey, like you should be able to do this?
No one told me, but I knew that I should be.
Because other kids can do it.
Other kids can do it.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I can't. And I don't know, like, obviously there was no training back then, or like there's only a few kids that were doing something.
Yeah. So you couldn't really tell. But I think that, like, learning at, like, when you're a kid to move in all of those different ways benefits you more as, like, an athlete and as an adult. So I think that's, like, kind of what we wanted to talk about today anyways, is, like, specializing too soon and then missing out on all those, like, development opportunities that come from different sports.
Yeah. Well, the term we use is that athletic proficiency.
Yeah.
Like you understand more than one thing. Like when you relate it to school, it's like you go to school and you learn a bunch of different stuff. Like imagine going to school or sending your kid to school and you're like, guess what? You're only going to do math.
Yeah.
Like, that's the only subject.
You just get sorted into this thing,
Yeah.
and that's it. That's all you do.
You're like, their math would suffer, even though that's all they're doing. They're like, their communication skills would suck. Their, like written skills.
Well, yeah, like you said, we talked about it a little while ago. It's like, I want to be an engineer. I'm only going to study math. It's like, well, you actually need to know a hell of a lot more than that.
Yeah.
So it's like, that's not actually going to work. It's great that you have a singular goal, which is totally fine, but you can't just hyper-focus on it because you'll miss out on all the other stuff.
Well, and then you'll miss out on stuff that will make you a really good engineer.
Yeah, and the same goes for hockey. Same goes for any sport. If you hyper-focus on it too early, then you're going to miss out on maybe some fundamental movement patterns that are easily developed in soccer.
Yeah.
So what if you played soccer? Would that make you a better hockey player? Probably.
Well, for sure. So when I was playing junior A at Notre Dame,
Yeah.
I was after my 19-year-old year, and so exit meeting with the coach, he sits me down, he's this Norwegian guy, great guy, and he goes, do you play soccer? I go, no, you know what, actually I hate running.
It's still true today.
It's still true today. And he goes, well, I think you should play soccer. It will make you a better hockey player.
There you go. And what was his
And
reasoning?
I'm like, really? Like, I'm young, I'm kind of naive. I'm like,
How?
How?
Yeah.
He's like, well, in soccer, you have to move your feet.
Yep.
Right? You can't really, like, use your body like you can in hockey, so it'll make you better at, like, puck protection, and your hips will get better on the ice. And then, your, like, footwork, your sprints, your acceleration, your change of direction, like, all these things you get to work on while playing soccer that are, like, forced for you to do. Like, they're not cone drills where it's like, I sprint to this cone, then I turn. Like,
Yeah.
there is some value there. However, everything can be pre-planned and like mapped out, where when you're playing a game like soccer, you can't. Like, you have to adjust, react to the your opponent.
Right.
And so all of those things, and then like the cardio aspect of it's like very similar. You know, you kind of sprint,
Short
you jog,
bouts,
and
yeah.
you kind of just like walk around, right? So
Yep.
it's very like similar energy system. And so like that summer, because all I wanted to do was be a hockey player,
You played soccer?
I came home, and my buddies, they played in a men's league, and I said, hey, like, can I play with you guys? And like, I never played soccer as a kid.
Right.
Like, I did a little bit of baseball, and that was it. And then just lots of hockey. And then obviously, like, through school, you'd play like volleyball and basketball, and like you would
Yeah.
like PE was much different back then, so you actually got to do
Everything?
other sports.
Yeah.
I need a band. Yeah. So, anyways, I come back, I play with my buddies. No actual soccer skill, just like
Brute force.
like in shape. And so it was incredible. I played for 3 years, and like it helped my hockey out so much.
Would you be able to like pinpoint a thing, be like, hey, I'm better at this skill in hockey because of what I did playing soccer? Like, is there something that specific, or was it just like, oh, I move my body better?
Yeah, I would say like my footwork.
Okay.
Like on the ice, I was better at just like moving my feet and being more coordinated with my feet. And then like my speed got a little bit better because you have to sprint in soccer. And so it just like forced me once again to just be better with my feet.
Well, that's good.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would say that that's like, even though you came to it late,
Yeah.
I would say like, 19 would be considered late.
Oh, really?
It's still, it's like, okay, then it's never too late. You're like, oh,
Yeah,
it
exactly.
still transfers over.
Yeah.
And I think that there's even more benefit, and you would see an even greater impact if you just kept on doing that from like, say, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, all the way up to...
Yeah.
So one of my questions actually is, do you think there's an age that you need to specialize? Like, at what point are you like, oh, I need to make a choice here?
Yeah, for sure there is that age.
Because, like, in my experience, I didn't. Like, I never made a choice to stop playing the other sports that I was playing, because I loved playing different sports in different seasons.
Yeah.
So I think that at one point, maybe, I probably should have picked one.
Yeah.
And then I would have gone further.
Yeah.
But at the time, I was like, well, I love playing baseball, so I want to play elite level baseball for as long as I can. And I love playing hockey, so I want to play junior hockey as long as I can. But I never wanted to stop. So if there was a perfect age, what do you think it would be?
It's probably around that, like 14, 15 in there.
Yeah.
Like-
Is that grade 10?
Oh,
Kind of? Yeah, I think
9,
so,
10,
right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
You basically like, you acquire all these skills
Yep.
as a young kid, and then you hit a certain age, you're like, hey, well now, like, what am I going to go into and like specialize in?
Yeah.
Like, it's like going to med school. Like, you have to do like an undergrad. You don't just like go into like med school fresh out of high school. You're like, you have to learn all this stuff first, and then every year you specialize more and more and more.
Yeah, and then you get a better idea of what you actually want to do.
Yeah.
And so, like, you would say that you would recommend playing pretty much as many sports as you could, or as many as you liked, until something emerges as like the clear winner.
Yeah. The one that you're like, this is the one I just love the most. Maybe you're better at another one, but you're like,
Yeah.
I just don't like it as much. I'd rather pursue my passion of what I like than just what I'm best at.
It's gonna take you further for sure. Like,
Yeah.
we see a ton of athletes that just like end up hyper focusing on hockey, and then you watch it, especially if you work with them for a long time, you watch them lose their love of the game.
Yeah.
And that's sad. Like, it honestly is, and it's probably because they did too much of the same thing.
Well, and they did too much of the same thing from too young of an age.
Yeah.
So my first year retired, I came back here, started working with a bunch of teams, and we worked with like the top U18 teams. So these are the best hockey players basically in the province in this area. So all the way from Soyuz up to Vernon. The best players played here in Kelowna for what's like now the OKR program.
Oh, right, yeah. Our guys.
Yeah. And I also worked with that next tier down. So these kids were like the last cuts to play on the best team.
Yeah.
So you'd think they'd be like hungry as can be, just can't wait to like, prove that they belong at that higher level.
Yep.
And just, that passion for the sport would be there. It was like so eye-opening for me. These kids seemed like they hated hockey. Really? Half the kids only showed up to their off-ice training. And I would ask, they're like, oh, they don't really like it, or like they're going to quit after this year.
Even though they're that close to being like the
close.
best.
And like the only thing I could think of is like they got pushed so hard from such a young age, and they didn't quite make it that like their bubble just bursted.
And so they're just incredibly frustrated.
Yeah, exactly. And so they're like, wow, I'm deflated, so I'm just going to move on.
And then they're just kind of like, they're still there, still going through the motions.
Yeah.
But that's it.
Yeah, because their parents are probably like, well, you've gone this far, just play one more year.
Yeah, especially if they're U18, right? They're like, well, better not to quit.
Yeah.
Finish it out.
Yeah, exactly.
And then that's it. And there's like, I mean, I've spoken to some of our athletes recently who aren't going to go on and play anymore. And I'm like, oh, well, like, are you going to play beer league? Like, are you going to keep playing?
Yeah.
One of them's like, no, I'm going to sell all my gear.
Yeah.
And it's like, oh, man.
Like, I can't relate to that. That just like
It's heartbreaking to me.
It blows my mind.
It's sad.
It's a sport that like I still absolutely love, and
well, you still play.
I still play.
Yeah.
Am I great? Debatable.
Yeah, depends who you're comparing yourself to.
I compare myself to the 11-year-olds I train.
You're god out there.
Yeah, so like it's easy for us to look back at kind of our paths.
Yep.
And like I never got pushed. Like my dad, like I'd be waking up on my own for 5:30 practices. I'd wake up about like 4:30.
Yeah.
And then I would go down, make my English muffin with peanut butter. I'd watch Gilligan's Island.
You were so down.
And then I would wake him up like just before 5, and I'm like, hey, Dad, we got to go. I want to be early on the ice.
Yeah, see, that's different. You're just a different breed of human.
And he just never pushed me. And he'd always say, like, hey, like, once you stop loving it, you can just quit.
Yeah.
So
that's a different experience.
now, having said that, though, he would still, like, he'd be like, hey, do you want to do this camp? Like, he was still presenting opportunity to me.
Right.
Where, like, I didn't have to, like, go and, like, search for it. It wasn't like he wasn't supportive.
Yeah.
It was that he's like, hey, there's this opportunity to do this camp. Do you want to do it?
Yeah.
I'm like, yes, I do. And he'd be like, okay.
Yeah.
But it was never like, hey, you got to do this, you got to do that, you got to.
So you think that, like, helps you keep your love of the game and, like, your desire to want to keep going?
Oh, 100%.
Yeah. Because, like, I definitely, I wouldn't say, like, I was ever pushed to play because I loved hockey, but I was definitely encouraged to play other sports. And, I had to be fairly heavily encouraged to go to football practice outside when it's 6 degrees and freezing and your hands are cold and you're getting your fingernails caught in jerseys and ripped off and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
But like that, I chalk up to being a kid and not knowing what it means to be tough and learning how to do that. But I think a little bit of encouragement is good.
Well, it is a parent's job to, like, hey, you've committed to this thing, you're going to see it through.
Yeah, I think
So
that's
you can't just be like, oh, you don't want to do it? Then, okay, great, you're not going to do it. Because kids are still trying to figure out that type of stuff.
Yeah.
So it is definitely needs to be encouragement from the parents. Now it's also understanding, okay, when do we need to take that rest? When do we need to take that step back? That's what we talked about last time, is like that overview of your entire program, like scheduling in that recovery.
Yeah.
Right? Scheduling in time away from the rink.
Well, yeah, like right now I've scheduled in 2 full weeks of like bilateral training.
Yeah.
Because I think I front loaded too much unilateral training and resulted in, a little bit of pain in the knee and little issues like that. But if I was just like, no, I got to stick to the plan, then I'm just going to bang my head against the wall and get very injured, which is not ideal.
No, and then so I understand where parents come from when it comes to like almost getting addicted to the process of like they were on the ice this much and they got so much better. So if I do more of this exact thing, they're going to continue to get better because you get such early success.
Yeah, and then that's fair because like if you're if you're a coordinated kid and you get a lot of reps in at whatever height you are and body weight you are, you're going to get exponentially better.
Yeah.
And it's going to look great, right? But there's a ton of factors at play too.
Well, you will hit a plateau.
Yeah.
And then more
people are going to catch up.
People are going to catch up, and more isn't better. All of a sudden, you're like, I'm doing all this stuff, I'm not getting better, and then frustration sets in. The joy starts to be removed.
And then now the formula doesn't work. More is not equaling better.
No. And the problem, though, because you're like, now we're doing 10, that's just a random number, we're doing 10 of this thing. You know, before we did 10, and we had really good success, and now we're still doing 10, we're not having good success. Well, we must have to do 15.
Yeah.
Like, we have to increase the volume to continue to increase the output. That's the only way this makes sense. So then they do even more, and then there's even more pushback, there's more fatigue, there's more of everything.
Yeah. All the stuff you don't want.
All the stuff you don't want. And so there's a really good book called The Talent Code by Daniel Coyle. And talks about a bunch during the book. Two of the things that like really stand out is there's a study done with his music teacher, Anders Ericsson.
Yeah.
And so typically he works with violinists, and so he basically split his elite musicians, you're good and kind of bad.
Okay.
And they just tracked what they did for practice. So on the surface you would think, oh, the elites, they're practicing just so much more than everybody else.
Right, because you think quantity is
just
the difference maker.
Yeah, quantity is king, right?
Yeah.
And so when they actually look at it, these elite musicians a week practicing for 45 to 90 minutes.
A week?
Yeah, just
for the whole week.
Yeah.
Okay. Do it broken up?
No, so each day.
20 minutes here, kind of thing like that.
Yeah, and everything is done with intent. So it's purposeful practice.
So the reps are quality.
Every rep is quality.
Yeah.
And then as soon as the quality of that rep goes down,
you're like, we're done.
They stop.
That's perfect.
Because now they're fatigued, so there's no point in practicing under fatigue because you're not going to get that quality you're looking for.
Right.
And then when you think of hockey, it's they got to be on the ice more, they got to be on the ice more. And you're like, I bet you if you had a 30-minute practice set up, you wouldn't piss any time away.
No, and it'd all be really high quality.
It'd all be really high quality, right? And the kids would be focused. They're like, oh, I only have 30 minutes out here. And then when they're done, they're like, I want more. You're like, yeah, no problem. You'll get more.
Next session.
Yeah.
Well, then I think that even subconsciously the kids will be like, oh, I don't actually have time to piss around.
Yeah.
And you give them the idea that they're going to have 4 hours of ice this week, and they're like, yeah, well, I can kind of piss around in the corner and
without even thinking about it.
Try and hit a mish and do something stupid.
Sure.
Yeah. But if you're like, no, you only have 45 minutes of skill ice this week.
Yeah.
Kids are going to be on time. Kids are going to be ready to work. The attention is going to be better.
Yeah.
I mean, attention span is another topic. But
yeah. So I found it was it's just super interesting. And then they would in music they would practice one note at a time. So
the same note?
The same note. So they would just practice it, and then it would be at the quality they'd want it to be at, and then they would move on to the next one. So it wasn't everything was so thought out.
Trev, when I do this, can you tell me if I'm shifting to one side?
Yeah. At the bottom, you shift into your right.
Okay. Is that better?
That's better, yeah. That was even better.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thanks. I could feel it. It felt like a C. I come down.
Yeah.
And then shift. Yeah. Okay. Which is weird because my right side is bothering me, so I'm trying to shift away from it.
But you're probably oh, my right side's bothering me, so I want to make it stronger.
Probably. Anyways, so they'd practice one note at a time.
Yeah, and then they would just move on, then they would string a few together, and then they would, move on, string a few together, and then string all that together. So like Lego blocks, just really building it very slow.
So rather than try and learn a piece.
Yeah.
And do okay.
Yeah, exactly.
And then those are the ones that did better?
Yeah. Because that way they don't have to practice for as long.
Yeah.
Their love of practice stays high.
Yeah.
and their output is even higher. So like that return on investment is through the roof.
Yeah, and I guess that you would probably see a greater increase in improvement when working on like a singular thing like that.
Yeah.
Because rather than being like, oh, I'm a little bit better at this part, but I'm still pretty shit at this part, it's like, no, like I can see where I started and where I'm going.
Yeah.
So that makes sense. How would you, if you were to like relate that to sport, how would you relate that? Like in terms of like almost hyperfixating on a very certain skill.
Yeah. So like on the ice, I would say like the hockey player is different than a musician, like just, level of focus already, or just, there's a reason hockey players play hockey, right? Like they like a lot of excitement. They like that stimulus. So you might not be able to break it down.
Exactly.
Yeah. You would still try and like, for the next 5 minutes, we're only working on this type of pass.
Yeah.
And then it'd be like, now we're going to work on this type of crossover. And then you would like do like 3 or 4 skills individually for 5 minutes. You're like, now we're doing a drill that incorporates all those things.
Yeah.
And then that way, like that whole thing might take 20 minutes and your quality is way higher than just doing 20 minutes of them doing the drill.
Yeah. So like almost a, have you heard of like the whole part whole teaching method?
I don't think so.
So for like youth in sport, you'd show them what you would consider a perfect rep of something.
Yeah.
Or a perfect saucer pass or a perfect toe drag release. You'd show it to them completely in one movement, in one motion.
Yeah.
They'd see what it's supposed to look like.
Yeah.
That's the whole.
Yeah.
And then you'd go back and then break that whole down into pieces. And then you would teach them, say it's a toe drag, right? You would teach them the pull, how you start away from the body and pull close.
Yeah.
And so then you're just breaking it down into that one piece, okay? Great. Then they'll spend time doing that. And then after that, then they're going to work on the release part, just the release. And then at the end, they put it back together.
Yeah. Okay. So yeah, I've heard of that.
So that's like whole part whole teaching.
Yeah.
So like, it's almost like similar. Like if they're going to get really good at that one piece of it, then okay, we're done there. Then we move on to the other piece, and then we put it all together.
Yeah.
So that's what I think when you
well,
talk about the musicians.
Yeah, you have to. And then another example in the book, it's a like basically like Russian like powerhouse of like tennis producers.
Oh yeah, where it's like from one specific spot produces the most.
And they had
best.
like at one time they had the most players on the ATP tour than any other country.
Oh my God.
And so the author went there thinking, okay, like this is going to be like the most state-of-the-art facility. They're going to have, the nicest equipment, like all this stuff. And he gets there, and he's just like, it was a hole in the wall. Like nothing about it was like nice. And so he's just like kind of scratched his head, trying to figure out, well, what has caused, this spot to produce like that many high-level tennis players. And so he started watching the way they practiced, and it was very similar to the violinists.
Okay.
Like, everything was very deliberate, breaking down skills. Like, they encouraged mistakes.
Okay.
Like, mistakes are good, and like, if you don't make mistakes, then how do you know where to get better, right? If you're in an environment where you're like, oh my God, like I'm gonna get yelled at if I make a mistake, you're like, I'm always gonna play cautious.
Right.
I'm never gonna try and push my skill.
Yeah.
So now you're playing timid or practicing timid.
Especially in practice, like if you're gonna make mistakes anywhere, that's where you got to make them.
Yeah.
If you don't try, you'll never know. So.
Yeah, and they just like same concept. They would just, work on one skill. So it'd be like one type of forehand, and they would just keep going and going until the player basically kind of perfected it. And then they would focus on the next one. And it was never like, I guess, maybe from an outsider, you might be like, what are they actually doing? Like, it's broken down too much.
Yeah.
And they're just like, they're perfecting the skills. And then they put it together so they also understand how to use them in a game situation.
Yeah. And do you think that, like, there are skills learned in other sports that will directly be responsible for you getting better at another one.
Yeah.
Like you talked about with your footwork and stuff like that, that
Yeah.
you can mimic it in the gym, but it's just not the same. Because I'd say like there's a lot of like hand-eye coordination stuff that comes out of soccer, baseball, any racket sport too, that you don't get as many reps in on the ice to get sufficiently better at.
Yeah.
Like you see a lot of guys with unreal hand-eye that play
Yeah.
hockey.
Yeah.
But I can almost guarantee you that they learned that somewhere else.
For sure. Like, so we talk about that athletic proficiency.
Yeah.
So you're acquiring these skills from different sport. And then you're like, well, I just love hockey the most. So now I've developed footwork in soccer. I've developed hand-eye in baseball. Maybe basketball too. Like you're playing all these different sports. And then when you come to hockey, you're like, yeah, yet I haven't done it exactly the same. Your brain and body understand how it needs to be done. So that adaptation to then acquiring the skill specifically in hockey is that much faster.
Yeah. It's almost like you already laid the groundwork. It's
You've
like it's already
100%
there.
have laid the groundwork. So all of a sudden now you're like, oh, that was that's really easy. I can
Tip pucks in front of the
Yeah.
net because I'm used to swinging away playing baseball. Yeah.
Yeah. So then that's where, like, once again, specializing in just hockey, you're not going to learn those other skills, right? You're not learning English. You're not learning physics and all that other stuff to then become that really good engineer.
Yeah.
You're like, I just got to do engineering.
Right.
And then that's the problem.
And then I would also say like there's a huge benefit outside of skill acquisition too. Like it's not like that's our only goal.
No.
Right? It's like you want to have a complete developmental childhood too. Like
Well, yeah.
you want kids to play things that they like, and if they didn't try something else, they might not have found that one thing that they're really, really good at.
Yeah, well, and just think too, like, before we get there, so if you're playing soccer, like, the way soccer plays develop are a little different than hockey and similar at the same time.
Yeah.
So do you think your, like, IQ of sport goes up?
Right.
Right, that, like, just even, like, your spatial awareness of what's happening around you, the players,
Yeah.
those, like, passing lanes, all that type of stuff. Like, it just, once again, you're like, we still care about hockey.
Of course.
Right? Like that's who we train. That's what we care about. And so we're not telling you to go play soccer because we don't care about your hockey development. We're telling you to go play soccer so you become a better hockey player.
Yeah.
And then to your point, you get a different friend group.
Oh, totally.
Your like social skills go up. You can converse with people other than hockey.
Yeah, you become a more complete person.
Yeah. Because let's be honest, not everyone makes the NHL.
I hate to make that point, but like, it's a fine line between being like, oh, if I gave more to focus on hockey, I could have went further. It's like, yeah, but you're not actually like, that's not a guarantee.
No.
Like, at the same time, would I have wanted to give up my experience playing baseball to go play in the WHL or higher? I don't think so. Knowing what I know now about my experience and the different sports I played,
Yeah.
I don't think so.
Well, it's just like, once again, we care about hockey, right? We look at hockey, like hockey's the vehicle, knowing that that's what the kid cares the most about.
Yeah.
So what other skills can we get them to work on while focused on hockey?
Yeah.
Because now that, once again, everybody has to be done hockey at some point. Like even if you have a phenomenal NHL career,
Right.
like you might play until you're 42.
It would be considered incredible. Yeah.
Yeah, right?
Yeah.
So like
A lot of life after that,
exactly. There's a lot of life. So
hopefully.
yeah. So you end up like just looking at bigger picture. And so then when you're done playing, you're like, I don't hate this thing.
Yeah. I'm happy with what
Yeah.
I did, how far I got, my experience getting there.
Yeah. Just, and once again, it comes back to like, you do one thing, you get early success, you're like, well, I just have to do more of that one thing now.
Yeah.
Rather than like, little plug, it's like, oh, let's like talk to professionals that understand long-term athletic development and figure out what's the best plan of attack so we can hit all those, those benchmarks that we want to hit.
Yeah.
And not have our child hate hockey when they're done.
Yeah.
Like
while still getting the most out of their time.
Yeah, exactly.
I tried to put resistance on that thing when you were going. I was like, oh, I'm going to steal all his resistance.
Oh.
They're attached to the same thing.
It's loaded. I don't use it enough.
No, it's a fun thing to program in, but it's easy to like overlook it.
I like it because I'm like, I get to work on my power output.
Yeah.
And I take a lot of stress off my joints.
Yeah, and that's like, you start to think of stuff like that. Like, that's why I have what I would consider like a deload week right now, is to take some stress out of my knees.
Yeah.
Or at least spread the stress out.
Yeah.
Across both of them.
Yeah, just like that landing impacts. And then just like looking at the numbers, like, I produce, this much force with this rep. Well, I got to make sure my next rep produces, within 5% of that.
Right, you want to be, because it tells you too, right?
Yeah.
So it'll say, 90% of my last rep.
Yeah, and I don't even know, like, you're hoping someone listening to this is like, maybe we should like rethink and not just think, what are we doing this next weekend? What does the next year look like? What does the next 2 years look like?
Yeah.
And not that you have to like stick to that like 100%. It's like, at least it gives you a good guideline of what are we doing?
Yeah, and then kind of makes you like think about, should I offer this up? Like as a parent, you'd be like, should I offer this up to my kid?
Yeah.
Be like, hey, do you like any other sports? Like, do you want to try blank this summer? Like, hey, do you want to jump and go play baseball this summer? Like, we're not skating as much. Like, we'll still put you on the ice 2-3 times a week in the summer, but like, do you want to try something else? Like,
or the start of summer, we're not going to touch the ice at all.
Yeah.
We're going to do this other stuff because it's going to help your hockey, right? No different than like my coach selling it to me.
Yeah.
Like if you just said like, you go play soccer, it'd be like, no.
Yeah, what's the point?
What's the point? But he like explained the point. I'm like, I want to do it.
Yeah. No, and that's fair.
Because like, just because you do more of something doesn't mean you're getting better at it, right? The easiest example, like if you're like developing true strength, you're like, well, if I do too many reps or I do too many sets of it, my strength goes down.
Yeah.
So like that goal that I'm looking to achieve, I end up missing.
Right, because you're overdoing it.
Because you're overdoing it. Because you're like, the more I lift, the stronger I'm going to get. Mentality. You're like, well, no. The better programmed and thought out my training is, the stronger I'll get.
Yeah. You have to have a plan. You have to have a goal. And I think it's harder and harder now to like convince like youth athletes that they need to be doing other things.
Yeah.
Like we have to fight with our athletes to take time off the ice. Because I get a lot of them, they absolutely love it.
Yeah.
And they want to be out there.
Yeah.
Great. But you have to almost miss it.
Yeah.
You have to find an opportunity to where you're like, I can't wait to go back on the ice. Like, I took 2 weeks off. I didn't skate at all. I barely opened my hockey bag. And then they're like excited to go back and skate. I feel like you get a ton of benefit just from some time away. Whatever you're doing in that time, you could be playing other sports or working on other things. Yeah. But the idea is like, you got to build that desire to want to go back.
Well, and to think you're like 2 weeks, they're going to be like, oh my God, there's so much time.
I know, that's how they sound though.
Those younger kids, their off season, it could be up to 20 weeks.
Yeah, it just never seems to be though. They're always back doing something.
So you're like, literally, you are, what is that, 10%?
2 weeks?
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm not a math guy.
You're like, I think you're going to be okay.
you're gonna make it. Yeah. Like, I wish there was more, like, it was more evidence, or there was more examples out there right now of, like, professional athletes that played multiple sports.
Well,
Because, like, I think of Steve Nash.
Yeah.
Growing up in my generation, I think of Steve Nash. Played in the NBA, but was an unbelievable soccer player.
Yeah.
Played soccer his whole childhood into, like, early adulthood, and only really stopped because, you know, he was, like, had a real shot in playing professional basketball. And then not only that, but then he becomes, you know, one of the best, if not the best, Canadian-born basketball player ever.
Yeah.
And it's like, oh, like, that's a great example. I wish there was something similar to that right now.
Well,
To bolster our argument almost.
yeah. Part of the problem is stories like that aren't always like showcased because they're not as like cool. They're not as glamorous.
Yeah.
It's that, oh, this kid, like, you know, all he did was hockey.
Yeah, Sidney Crosby used to shoot 1,000 pucks into his mom's washing machine.
Yeah.
Like, everybody heard that story.
Yeah, and you're like, oh, now like every kid should do that. And I would look at that and be like, you shooting pucks off the ice, well, that is very skill specific.
Yeah.
You are away from the rink. You do not have your gear on.
Yeah.
To be honest, like I would not actually call that like hockey specialization.
Yeah.
Even though you're shooting pucks, it's like a completely different environment. And you're out of that environment. So you don't end up like mentally burning yourself out. Then I would say too, it's our jobs as professionals and parents' job to understand what's best for your kid, even though that they are begging to be on the ice.
Yeah.
Well, my kids, if I asked them what they wanted for dinner every night,
Yeah.
they'd be like,
Pizza.
oh, no, it wouldn't even be that. It'd be like, we want ice cream, we want, you know, popsicles, we want all this stuff.
I would
like,
have said pizza.
our job is to give them what we know is best for them,
Right.
understanding what they want, and then treating them to those things.
Right. Yeah, that's fair. I would say that when I was a kid, I had no idea what was best for me. So sometimes I still don't. But
No, but once again, like that's the parents' job. We'd be like, yeah, we understand you want to be on the ice 8 times a week. We're only gonna do 4.
yeah.
And you're gonna be mad at me, and that's okay.
Yeah.
Because it's gonna get you better. And then you know what? Stick handle in the garage for hours on end.
Yeah, if you're
Shoot
gonna
pucks hours on end. That's fine.
Yeah.
We're not gonna go to the rink though.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, you look at the second best goal scorer of all time. Right? How many sports did that guy play?
I don't know.
The great one. He played everything.
Yeah, yes, yeah,
Right?
he did.
He like a lot of lacrosse.
It's weird to hear you
Baseball.
say like second.
I know.
And like for a second, I had to think about it. I'm like, who are you talking about? And then I'm like, oh,
You know,
shit.
Ovi took over, right?
Yeah, yeah, I know. It's crazy. Yeah, so that's fair. And then I also think that then parents will be like, oh, it's a different game.
Yeah.
It's a different game now. Like, yeah, well, a lot of the same rules still apply. Like,
So it's all relative, right?
yeah,
Like you have your absolutes and you have what's relative. So yeah, you can argue that it's a different game. For sure it's a different game. However, in the moment, everything was comparable.
right. He was still far and away the best by a long shot of that era.
Yeah, and yeah, he was on his backyard rink out there skating. Could you really call that like, yes, you're getting better, however, it's unstructured.
Yeah.
So maybe
It's
part of the
play.
problem is like there's too much structure
Yeah.
to these kids. Like it's both. It's like they're doing too much, so the quality of what they're doing goes way down.
Yeah.
And then they're doing too much structure of what they're doing. So then they can't think for themselves. They can't think the game. It's like they're told do this, do that, do that. Here's a cone, here's a cone, here's a cone. Do this, this, this.
I would also argue there's a third point too, is like the increased level of stress on the body in the same angle constantly, right?
Yeah.
Like we've talked about it, and you see so many injuries of overuse injuries that like if you didn't skate so much, they might have never happened.
Yeah.
Or if they did happen, they'd happen at the end of a very long and healthy career.
Yeah.
When you're about to hang them up anyways. But since they became so hyper obsessed, and well, maybe they are unbelievable hockey players, they're having to deal with a lot of adverse effects.
Yeah.
That they, like, you know what, a little adversity never hurt anybody, but if you could avoid it by better structured planning and, spreading that stress out in multiple planes of movement, wouldn't you want to do that?
Well, and then also like understanding, okay, they're going to get this many repetitions of the exact same thing. Oh. So then how do you build resiliency for that? And that comes to what we do in the gym. It's like we're not loading the exact same patterns over and over again in the gym because that's where you want them the strongest. It's like, what's going to break down first? What's going to cause most stress? Let's build that.
Yeah.
So then they can keep doing what they want to do. So they don't, have to get, their hips scoped.
And cleaned up and repaired and be off the ice. And
Yeah,
like we've
18
talked
years
about
old.
so many times, like you either make time for your recovery on your own terms or an injury is going to force you to do it.
Yeah.
And then
Yeah.
you're going to be taking a hell of a lot more time off than you want to.
Yeah, like, I remember it probably would have been the same thing. Like one of my first years back, talking to a mom, and she was like, yeah, my kid's like dealing with like hip flexor issues. Like physio thinks they're strained. I was like, oh, geez. I'm like, in my head, I'm like, maybe the kid's like 20 years old, 19, somewhere in there.
Yeah, and the kid's like,
8. I'm like, sorry, what? There was no such thing as hip flexor like strains
on an 8-year-old?
on an 8-year-old back in the day.
There shouldn't be.
Like,
Yeah.
I was absolutely dumbfounded.
Yeah, you shouldn't be having an overuse injury.
No, and that's
At
all
that
that
age.
is. You're like, they should be doing other stuff.
Yeah.
Like develop the other muscles around it,
Totally.
not just the one.
What do I got here? Let's go.
I absolutely hate pull-ups.
I'm starting to like him now.
No,
Just because I'm getting better at them. I used to be like downright avoidant.
I think if my arms weren't dragging on the ground, it'd be easier.
Can you scratch your knee without bending down?
Pretty much.
I got T-Rex arms in comparison.
So like, but then you're like, okay, for hockey, you're like, that's a pretty important exercise.
Yep.
Do I need to be doing 30 of them? No. Should I be strong with them? Yeah.
Yep.
Own body weight, like 10, like.
Well, that's what made me really want to do them more because I just like all I wanted to do was get better at moving my own body weight. So like pull-ups, chin-ups, however many body weight squats you can do, push-ups. Like you want to be an expert moving your own mass.
Well, that's what the sport is.
Exactly, right? And then the more coordinated that you can do that, the better. And then it's a big, lovely circle because the more sports you play,
Yeah.
the more coordinated you are,
Yeah.
the better you move your body.
The more coordinated you are, the better you feel on the ice.
Exactly.
And
The
then
best hockey players are the best athletes.
Yeah, bar none.
You want to be a good athlete, right? Like, I knew a guy, one of my childhood best friends, unbelievable swimmer, unbelievable water polo player, went to UCLA for water polo.
Was he Serbian?
Serbian, yeah. Did you know that?
Nope. Well, just they're a big.
They're big water,
country.
that's a good
Yeah.
a good guess. And insanely athletic in the water.
Yeah.
Take him out of the pool, it was embarrassing. Like watching him try and run and all that kind of stuff. I'm like, there's no way you're this good at a sport while moving the way that you move. But he didn't play anything else. He was just a swimmer and a water polo player. He was not an athlete.
I am part fish.
Yeah, and he was incredible, right? And he had the build for it, He could probably scratch his ankle standing up, like the longest arms you've ever seen. But he didn't play other sports, so he wasn't an athlete.
No. And
I'll send him this video; he'll love it. But that's funny because he is Serbian,
Yeah.
which is crazy. That's a deep pull.
My wife's, I think it's her great uncle, maybe.
Yeah.
I want to go battle for Serbia.
Oh, it's
polo.
unreal. They
Like 6'7", just an absolute like
ruthless
Yeah.
competitor too.
Yeah.
That game, I had no idea how ruthless water polo is.
Oh, it's dangerous.
They're trying to drown each other.
Oh, yeah.
It's incredible.
And the best part is when you get a penalty, you have to just tread water the whole time.
Yeah, so you're just like gassed.
Yeah.
It's incredible.
It's like a legit penalty.
Yeah,
You'd be
you're-
like in hockey, you have to like go to the box and do a squat hold the whole time.
yeah, imagine that, right?
If
No
you stand
gator.
up or touch your butt, you get 2 more minutes.
Yeah, no gato in the
Yeah.
box. You're just
Yeah.
exactly.
Maybe guys would be less inclined to take penalties.
Yeah, I would probably. Yeah, so I guess that kind of cements the point there that if you play more sports, you're going to be more athletic, and that's a good thing. Okay, what am I doing? This thing sucks.
Well, I remember reading an article.
Is it this
Brent Sutter. I think there's 7 of them that all played NHL, which is like beyond ridiculous.
Yeah.
And yeah, it was, maybe, this might have been even 10 years ago, this article. 5, 10, somewhere in there. It all feels the same now. And he just talked about how, like, summer came around and they put their bags away.
Yeah.
They had to work on the farm.
Yeah.
Now you talk about like developing strength in different patterns and different usages. Like physical labor is probably one of the best ways to do that.
Hey, go huck some hay around.
Yeah. And then, they would play baseball, they'd play soccer, they'd just play lacrosse, they'd just do everything else.
Yeah.
And then, August would kind of roll around. They're like, all right, well, bag comes back out. We're going to start, focusing on hockey again. And then, they would just be like that much better
Yeah.
because they did other stuff, and the other kids probably just didn't do anything.
Yeah, and then there's that,
So-
you go knock the rust off and you're right back in it.
And you're right back in it. Yeah, there's no, like, oh, I forgot how to play this thing.
But I think now kids are really afraid of that like very short period of time
Yeah.
where they have to knock the rust off. They're like, oh, I don't want to come back and be rusty. Oh, I don't want to come back and be bad.
Yeah.
It's like, dude, it's one
Well, no,
ice time.
You're allowed to come back and be bad your first few skates,
Yeah.
right? And then all of a sudden you're like, oh, I'm right back to it.
Yeah.
So like that timeline, you're like, okay, when kids are 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, they're not in here doing this stuff, right? Like maybe they understand how to do a squat hold and they have some fun in their push-up hold, like
Yeah.
very like just slightly educate them with how to control their body, because once again, that's the most important thing.
Yeah.
So I would say, having them on the ice 3 times a week is great because they get more touches. And then get them to play soccer and baseball and all those other skills, because now they're developing that proficiency of sport. And then as they get to like 10 and they increase their on ice a little bit, and then they start to incorporate more of the off ice, their growth just happens so much faster. And then you keep that kind of like workload. You're like, okay, now we're starting to incorporate the off ice side of things.
Yeah.
And
They're more ready at
they're
that
more
point.
ready. And then they do that till they're about, like we said, like 15.
Yeah.
And then they're like, hey, now you got to pick.
Yeah.
So, all right, great. They pick hockey. Now they remove that other thing. Now they got way more time. They like fill it half with hockey,
Half
with
off
S&C.
Yeah. 100%.
And all of a sudden they just like, their growth, like we talked about before, it's not linear. It's not just like, oh, I'm constantly getting better.
No.
It's maybe a little bit of this, up, down, a little bit of this. And all of a sudden they hit that age, it's like, woof,
Bang.
they just take off.
The trajectory is insane.
Like,
yeah.
Well, like Zach Whitecloud, one of our guys.
Yeah.
He played house hockey first year U18,
Which is insane.
which is insane. House hockey. However, he was an athlete, so he did everything.
Yeah.
And then next year, he's like, okay, he made like his rep team in his hometown.
Yeah.
So he also had to travel, I think, to go play house
Which is crazy. Love of the game.
for the love of the game. And then, yeah, so he ends up like, just like slowly plugging away, doesn't get drafted to the NHL, plays Division I hockey, which is incredible already.
Unreal achievement already. So he's
Right.
already house money. He's already
Yeah.
won. Yeah.
And then after his second year, signs an entry-level deal with Vegas. And then not only signs a deal, like makes the team, because like just because you sign doesn't mean you're going to make the team. Because if they have a drafted player that's like equivalent to you, they're taking the drafted player.
Yeah, because they want to show that they had great insight for this guy. We drafted him, and now we developed him. Now here he is. Yeah.
Yeah. So the fact that he made it just speaks volume to one, sticking to the process, understanding that it's long, and you don't have to win it overnight, right? It's not a race to who's the best 10-year-old.
Yeah, nobody cares. There's no money there.
And so not only does he make the NHL, he's he won a Stanley Cup. The most important thing as an NHL player, right? That's why everyone plays.
Be a winner.
And then he won it playing big minutes, top 4 minutes, shutting down the opposing team's top line, all because he's I'm just gonna continue to get better and understand that it's a slow process.
Well, and it makes sense that he's one of the guys that's always out there now trying to get as much out of every session as he can.
Yeah.
The intent is always there.
Yeah.
And that's what separates it. We always hear, great strength coaches talk all the time. It's the guys that show up and do the work consistently day in and day out are the ones that get better.
Yeah.
And Fitzy talks about that all the time. And it's it's not the sexy stuff. It's the showing up and doing it over and over and over.
Yeah.
Always being there to get better.
That boring stuff.
Yeah. A lot of the stuff I'm doing today, I don't love. And that's fine. But it's what I need to do to get better. And also what I need to do to not get worse.
At our age, that's
a huge W.
That's more important than getting better. It's I just can't get worse.
Yeah, if my knee isn't falling to pieces and my arm is still attached to my body, that's a W.
Yeah, if you're I stayed neutral, I actually got better.
I got better. It's me against me right now. It's me against Father Time.
Father Time ain't gonna win.
No, not a chance. Yeah, and I think I'm grateful for all of the different sports I played. I think that what was more important to me as a kid was being good at everything. Not necessarily the best at everything, but I wanted to be able to go and do whatever I wanted. And I wanted to be good at it. So I tried to play every sport. And I can almost guarantee that it made me better at hockey.
Oh, for sure.
And I got a lot of really cool experiences out of playing ball and traveling to play baseball and all that kind of stuff. And eventually, like you said, a lot of us run out of talent.
Yeah, and then it's just...
And then what?
Yeah, can you just look back and be I loved every bit of it?
Yeah.
Right? Because maybe we'll leave it on this question here. Yeah. So, if more hockey made everyone better, wouldn't every hockey player be elite?
It's a very
because they're all doing the same amount.
It's a very good question.
So how come only some are getting better then?
Yeah, right, because there is a skill side to it. It's a skill game.
Yeah.
Right? And more doesn't always mean better.
More doesn't mean more skill.
Yeah. More doesn't mean good. And that's fair. You can pound your head against the wall for ages and ages and ages, but I always try and say this to the guys that we train too, that effort alone isn't enough. If you apply effort in the wrong direction, you're going to get further away from your goals. You're just going to keep getting further and further away because you're moving the wrong way.
Yeah. So
yeah, you are working your ass off.
Yeah, great, you're working hard. Sweet.
That's awesome, but you're not going anywhere you want to go.
No.
And that sucks too because effort's hard. Hard work's hard. It's in the name.
Yeah.
But it doesn't mean you're moving the right way.
Technically, it's 100% of the name because hard is hard and work is hard.
Both of those things are hard.
So it's 100%.
So you'd think you're going to get something from it. But not always. I think at the end of the day, people are going to put a lot of stock into specializing early, playing on all the best travel teams, and, my kid's on the elite U11 select travel team.
Yeah.
It's 20 grand a year. It's yeah, but you're 10 years old. is that going to exponentially get you to the next level more so than a kid who skates 3 times a week and loves it and puts all his effort in?
Yeah.
Absolutely
And
not.
fills a gap on other stuff.
Yeah. It's just, it's not going to be the difference maker.
Yeah.
Make sure your kid loves the game,
Yeah.
enjoys being out there, and has the opportunity to touch all the bases, no pun intended. Go play baseball, go play soccer, go play lacrosse, go play football.
Yeah, exactly.
Right? And then at the very least as a parent, you can be guaranteed that that kid had a good, full sports education.
Yeah.
And then once they get a little bit older, 14, 15, then be like, hey, what do you like the best?
Yeah.
You know, not even necessarily what are you best at? What do you like the best?
Yeah.
Let's go play that.
Chances are it'll be the same thing because typically you like
What
you're the best at.
Yeah. If you're competitive, 100%.
So.
And so then there you go. Then the answer is just let them do everything they want.
Yeah.
Give them all the options to do it.
Yeah.
And then when the time comes at 14, 15,
Well,
ask the question.
Be that bad guy where you're like, yeah, we're not going to skate for the next 3 weeks.
Yeah.
And I understand you're not going to like me.
Yeah.
This is my reasoning. And trust me, you're going to have this many skates after that. And then, like, literally write it out on a calendar. Yeah. Highlight all the days you're going to skate. They're going to look at it and be like, that's a lot of times.
That's a lot of ice, yeah.
I'm going to be okay.
Yeah.
So, anyways, that's it for today. So, early specialization, is it worth it? No.
No.
Can you still get better without being on the ice all the time? Absolutely. So just think of what you're actually doing, the intent behind everything you're doing, and you should be able to do it for less and get more out of it than doing it for more and get less out of it. So until next time, thanks for joining us.
Sweet.